Is it?
Um,
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, 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 welcome. I know it seemed as though we abandoned y'all, but no, we did not. We just had a little issue with school opening and time and all these different issues. Good morning, Hadassah. How are you?
well, very good. Happy to be back online because I actually missed the show. I miss you. I miss our audience. Yeah, so I'm good. Good to be back. I know we actually started at a different hour as well because school is reopened. 7 a.m. is not a convenient time for you. So, we had to like shift it and we were really thinking about it and contemplating what will be the best course of action. But we're here, so we're going to see how this time works. And, we solicit your feedback and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot to talk about. It feels as though I feel like if I've aged like 5 years, um, and what our country has gone through over the last couple of weeks, I feel like it has aged me. I feel older and I don't know if wiser, but maybe a little crabbier.
All I know is
Hmm.
I seeing the. It's like I'm okay, I'm energetic, I'm ready, but when you go around and you're seeing the issues, especially ones that I've highlighted,
Mm-hmm.
you realize just how incompetent a lot of people in management are. And the only consistent thing we have in this country is incompetence. That's the only consistent thing,
That
incompetence
is true.
everywhere.
That is true. And then the symptoms of the incompetence is the fact that we are failing in everything and nothing works. I mean, you could like just rattle it off the top of your head: TTPS, TTFS, NIB, school, everything,
Social
nothing works.
development because they can't deal with the bullying in school, the fighting, the prime minister saying his usual nonsense as if
Yeah.
that makes any sense at all. If we were really a violent society, he might have been in a hospital all now, or members
Yeah.
of his parliament or his council, etc. We are not a
Yeah.
violent society. How he could say that? It's not like we blowing up places and every minute police ducking and running from gunshots and grenade and all of these different things.
Well, I
So
mean, in as much as you talk about that, we should probably just dive in. So, Prime Minister Rowley would have made that statement, that asinine statement, in response to a reporter asking him, what are his views on the spate of school fights that have been taking place, and I believe like he literally was bankrupt for an answer. I don't think he knew what to say because I don't feel like they sit down in their when they convene or in parliament or whatnot to talk about these issues. So at least you have talking points on it. So when he opened his mouth, of course he sounded very stupid, sounded very unresearched and whatnot. And then you will say that Trinidad, we are violent by nature. And I was like, but there is no evidence to support that. We did not uh take our country back like Haiti in any bloody, revolt
on
or
one breath,
anything like
though,
that.
he's saying that we are a violent society. And then you have your idiot tourism minister saying, yes, we're ready for tourists. So if we are a violent society, why on earth would you be expecting tourists?
Yeah. No, it really doesn't make sense. Now we actually have a problem of escalating school fights and escalating crime. I mean, we had 20 murders in a single week. But if we were a violent society, it would mean that when they decide that they're going to raise um, the gas price with impunity, or when they're going to do whatever they want to do, we would always be on the street, always rioting, always protesting, always using violence as a means uh to an end,
Respond.
which we don't. We have elements of violence in our society, and we have a lot of people who threaten, to kill you and whatnot on social media. But when you have a bunch of Trinis together, they're really only thinking to laugh and to
Lime.
fet and to have a good time and to lime and whatnot. We don't have like race wars. I mean, yeah, we have a lot of issues when our politics are concerned, but we don't have Indians and blacks in the streets fighting each other to the death and stuff like that. So that was a stupid statement for him to make.
A stupid statement from a stupid man.
And what we are looking for is, like, I have decided, Lima, honestly, that I don't care who runs the country. The reason why we have this platform and we do this show is just basically to point out to people how we have been selling ourselves short by accepting incompetence and corruption and things like that. I just want my country to work. So I am looking to Keith Rowley as the Prime Minister to have some type of response, even if he had to say to the reporter at that point in time, look, this issue has become something that we realize we have to pay attention to. I am meeting with the Minister of Education and I am meeting with the Minister of Social Development, right? So that we can figure out a solution.
And
If
that's
even if
it
he
would
had to
have
say
been
that,
And I
right,
said it would have
Limo?
been better if the man had just said, I don't want to comment on that just yet.
Exactly,
Let me get the reports from my streamline minister and I will get
exactly.
back to you on that. But it is very unfortunate. That's all the man could have said. It
Yeah,
is
but and
unfortunate.
then you brush the whole society, right, in broad strokes, and you make everybody now violent. Like adults just be fighting in Price Mart. Like everywhere you go, fights just be breaking out. That is not our actual reality.
But that is his own though. I remember he and Munilal with the teacup and all of that. That's he throwing the teacup, remember, like a little sissy. Throwing a teacup because you get vexed. You couldn't control your anger then and your rage. And then remember, it had some other issue where they were saying he was upset with Foster Cummins the other day or whatever. Had some drama with he again. You get upset over what? Some nonsense, I'm sure.
I
Right?
don't know. That was disappointing. And of course we still don't have any answer to the school fight.
Anything.
And they seem as though that they're not recognizing, or they don't want to confront the fact that um the fights are only a handful of students, right? And if you probably were to do your research on them, these children are probably from um difficult backgrounds, either abuse in the home or neglect or whatever it is that is fueling their anger and fueling their rage. Um, so you're not even looking to say, well, we're going to tackle this from the family unit level to the community level all the way up, right? You're Lema, I was thinking this week, we are over policed society. Every solution they is for them to say, all right, we're going to put police here, right? Police are overworked. Police meant to do everything in this country, right? So they're now going to they think the solution is to station police officers outside the school. But how does that keep children from fighting when they're walking up the road to get a maxi and whatnot and whatnot?
It
You
isn't
have
the
to deal
solution.
with the individuals. So you cannot identify the students who were in the fights and then send social workers to find out what is happening in their homes, get reports from the teachers to find out if they are problematic, if they have become withdrawn or whatnot. We
The
don't ever
problem
move like with
was
scientific data or with a
uh,
method.
the problems with all these children is their home, where they coming from and what happened in home. And that is where they were supposed to start. Going to school, see all the children who are fighting, pinpoint them from all the different videos, go home, find out what's going on home. You're a repeat offender, then you get some assault charge in your tail, your parents get serious warnings, and if you fight again, your parents will also be charged, plus community service for each child that do that stupidness. And it has to be meaningful community service, not just you go
Yeah.
and do some foolishness. You have to actually do something for a very long time, and it has to be mandatory.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always talk about Germany, that when their students are about to graduate, before they look to go to university or decide to enter the workforce, they have to do a year of mandatory service, and they could either do that either by being in the military or by serving in the communities in different ways, whether it be working in the orphanages or working in with the elderly and those type of places and stuff like that. But just things that give them a sense of humanity, a sense of they have responsibility to others other than themselves. um
That's why Germany's first world,
and
and their citizens are
things
very
like that.
democratic.
But glimpse is you see, it's a whole ignoring of the fact that we have had decades of neglect, right? Because I'm pretty sure that when you look at it, it might be a spate of people who have constantly voted PNM. They don't have the best jobs. They probably don't have the best education, right? They live in high risk communities and things like that. And we expecting these parents now who are bankrupt emotionally, financially, whatnot. We expecting these parents to churn out upright, outstanding citizens. It doesn't work. And if you don't want to address the pain points of your supporters or just citizens in general, which it might be home ownership or making jobs available or whatever it is, or cleaning up the communities and really tackling national security, if you don't want to deal with those issues that and poverty and stuff like that that result in what we have going on now, then saying that we are violent by nature, that is literally just putting a plaster on a gunshot wound. You're not doing nothing.
Which is exactly what they are accustomed doing. That is all this government ever does. That is all PNM in general has ever done, or any government for that matter. They've never tackled serious issues. Home ownership is still never been tackled. Crime has never been tackled, and crime starts with our Coast Guard securing our borders. They don't
Mm.
ever do anything the proper way.
Yeah.
All they're thinking, oh, these children indisciplined. It's not a matter of indiscipline. They have
No.
problems at home, and you need to find out what the root causes are before you
Yeah.
reach the discipline. Sometimes
Yeah.
it could be misplaced anger. You okay, fine, you have some problem, fine, join and do a sport, kickboxing, judo,
And that's exactly it.
something.
Exactly it. Exactly it. I mean, so that I saw Fitzgerald and Hines campaigning in is it Laventille or something like that, and giving out brochures and saying that the PNM is the only hope or whatever. And I just looked at those young children, those young men, and just felt really sorry for them, because I have no doubt that I wonder if I'm kicking myself by saying that. I believe that the people within the PNM and the people who make up Mr. Rowley's cabinet, I actually believe they are more competent than they actually perform. I believe that. But for some reason, it is in their interest to not perform, to underperform, to mismanage, to
That
lie,
might
and to
be
lead
so for
astray.
some of them, but I honestly believe that Fitzy is not one of them. I just genuinely believe he's kind of stupid.
Right.
Um, Shamfa is the next one who doesn't have a clue about anything, you know. So, but look at the portfolio for national security. We put Fitzgerald Hines there. Police failing, Coast Guard failing, regiment failing. Nobody knows what's going on with the Air Guard. Fire service failing. And all these people that you put in charge is politically motivated people. Your PNM people. Clearly people who were not competent enough to manage. The man in charge of the Air Guard came from Coast Guard. He doesn't have a clue about flying planes or helicopters. Why is he in charge of the Air Guard?
Yeah.
They want to send him on course all over the place. What it is he could add if he go Canada or Germany to talk about planes or helicopters? What the hell he could add? When you
Yeah.
send Fitzgerald Hines anywhere to do anything, what he could add to anybody conversation other than the fact that what? Kamla, Kamla, Kamla. That's why the Canadian teleprompter had to tell him, all right, wrap your shit up in 30 seconds or less. You're not even making sense. You're boring everybody to death.
Yeah.
Right? Look at the state of fire service. And
Yeah,
fire
let's talk
service
about that because
is
you have
the
been doing an excellent
service.
job.
The fire service is the only service that actually prepared, willing. They're just under equipped. That's their only problem, under equipment. And their problem is their pencil pushers. That's it.
Yeah. What is sad though, Limbs, is that I don't understand. I don't understand political loyalty to the point where it's to your detriment. So, because I saw you shared a post where somebody called you
A
a
quack.
quack
She
because
called me
you
a
are
quack because I
highlighting
highlighted the
the
issue of
issue.
Shagarama's fire station. And that's what she said, eh?
And I
We're not
said,
only talking about fire service and the condition of the Shagarama's fire station and then the museum burned down. And then one of the persons who commented in that was like, but and she just make your point? So I was like, yeah, but I don't think she realized that she made the point of the video, the
yeah.
point of addressing the whole
And
situation.
I was like, okay. And I was like, so why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because I actually feel like the issue really is that you, somebody who is not aligned with the PNM nor supports this government, that is the issue. You are speaking about it, as opposed to if Fitzgerald Hines was supposed to get up and say, if he was to come out truthfully and say, well, we really have 8 fire stations that are under-equipped, that don't have an appliance and things like that. And generally throughout the country, our men don't have the right equipment and things like that. If he was to say that, she will clap and say, all right, our Minister of National Security going and do something. Why is it the truth is so hard to hear from somebody else? And why doesn't the truth just remain that? The truth, no matter who says it.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't expect the truth from Fitzy. Fitzy can't give you the truth because look at he needed an umbrella to go and stand up under to give fire service to commission their 7 brand new Nissan Frontiers, which to me personally, and I'm sure if I was the Minister of National, I would have asked the people, what the hell you buy that for when you need breathing apparatus, you need fire trucks, you need a whole list of other things. They could have bought Jaws of Life for every single station. They could have also bought, when I calculated it, they could have bought at least 30 breathing apparatus. And you
Yes.
distribute according to the volume of work. So Sawa is a station that is heavily overworked. So I would have made sure every crew in Sawa have breathing apparatus to use. I would
Yeah.
give Sawa another truck as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if they have a bigger appliance and a water truck, that is still significantly better than what they have. They just have one
Yeah.
truck. And Star Wars respond to bushfire, house fire, industrial fires, and everything. So every minute they, as fast as they come in, is as fast as they leave to go on an next call.
Yeah.
Right? I showed a video of the Shagaramas fire station. Now I decided, all right, I'll go check it out. Drove down Macoin because I mean, I had time, so you want to see what's going on down there and stuff. Bush high all over the place down in Shagaramas. It's not very well kept. Saw people bathing by the beach by Pier One there. Then I drove down past the museum and I was like, hey, and I telling myself I must bring this children here one of these days to see this museum. Yanni would like to go in the plane. And I was like, but how this place looking so dirty and unkept? And I was like, okay, head up Railway Road to the fire station. I almost drive past the fire station too fast. I didn't realize. And I was like, wait, there's it, I reach. Stop, reverse. Had also they are bushfire waiting to happen. They are a regular fire waiting to happen. They are a leptospirosis waiting to happen. They
Yeah.
are physical injuries waiting to happen. They are mental issues waiting to happen. Because
Yeah.
the general sense you get there is neglect, abandonment,
Yeah.
forgotten. You swear, yes, it's like if I'm watching The Hills Have Eyes. You're expecting something to come out from the bush and watch you. In the night there must be so spooky and uncomfortable
Yeah.
and unsafe, right? And I did the video, I showed everybody everything, bush growing up on the AC, and I was like, but if bush growing up on that means it's not really service then.
Hmm.
And they have such a nice facility. They're supposed to have a large station open, so fresh breeze passing through, and you're supposed to be able to see at least 2 to 3 trucks there, 2 trucks and a water truck, because as I was saying, if it had a major fire, the truck they have there right now, which I was told could only hold less than 350 gallons of water, they can't out anything with that unless it's a small bushfire.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so said, so done, museum catch a fire, and they said it was by caused from a bushfire.
Hmm.
And
Avoidable. Avoidable.
yes, yes, Trinidadians have to take blame for that too, because time and time again we will see bushfires and people wouldn't call and say, look, there's a bushfire here, because any bushfire could get out of control and spread far. Trinidadians don't like to pick up the call and say, look, there's a bushfire here, and at least you did your part.
Yeah.
But no, and I was feeling so depressed for those fire officers who would have been on duty that day.
Yeah.
Because to be
No.
in a facility like that, I was like, wait. And then
I mean,
you get a call that fire is like, oh God, where? The museum? Jesus Christ.
yeah. Yeah. And
And you
you
already
already
know
know. Yeah.
you cannot.
You're not ready and you're not equipped for the job. I think they realize now that you are not their enemy and you actually fighting for
The
their cause.
operational crew, the ones on the ground who's actually do the
Yeah,
work,
I
know
think they
I am
understand
on
that
their
now.
side.
Yeah.
They know for sure. Yeah, she have our side. You see, Bristow, Decent, and all those khaki suit wearing jokers, they are the ones who will have a serious problem. And all of them who work in 8 to 4 would have a
Yeah.
problem. And I really don't give a damn
Yeah.
about them and whatever. I mean, clearly I have goat mouth, so I don't want to say anything. But when that fire took place in the museum and Shagaramas responded, obviously they would have known they needed backup, so they probably would have called up front. Four roads would have had to respond, right? And when four roads would have gotten there, they realized, nah, we need extra. Headquarters would have had to respond. Now, mind you, if Woodbrook had an appliance, Woodbrook would have been the one to respond instead of headquarters. Or they might have still sent headquarters and leave Woodbrook covered. So in the event Woodbrook is back up for somebody else, for Diego Martin. right? But headquarters had to respond. So I assume Four Roads must have took about a 20 minutes to get there. Because Four Roads is pretty far. They would have passed through Moncoco. Not Moncoco. What's the road there in the back by St. Anthony's College there? And they would have come out through Westmoreland's there
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
and then head down Chagaramas from there. Ryson Road would have just hit highway and come all the way down. But in a fire, time is of the essence. Look how much
Time is
time
up.
wasted in commute when you could have just made sure Chagaramas was fully equipped to handle anything.
Yeah. And this is really what eludes me, because I'm always amazed how you and I could just be on the show talking about it, and we are just applying like practical solutions. You talked about, all right, well, we will give sour more of the breeding apparatus because they actually respond to more fires and things like that. And I'm like, but why it is that they are just not applying that to how it is? And I just feel it's really just a matter of people getting there and then they refuse to do their jobs.
The people
And
we
I'm like,
put where I'm thinking that they
yeah,
need to change how they appoint a fire chief. I think they should put it where the chief must have operational experience and clerical. You can't just have clerical because pencil pushers don't ever have a clue or see eye to eye with what operational doing. And your operational, you need more operational experience in order to be a good chief
yeah,
because that is your entire portfolio operational, ordering pencils and pens and paper and making sure stores run and okay, the trucks need indicator lights, or you make sure you order. That is very minor compared to ensuring, right, we need 15 new trucks, we need breeding apparatus, because you as an operational um well, you would have had the operational experience, so you would have known, right, every officer definitely needs breathing apparatus. They definitely need boots, more, maybe twice a year, new boots. Maybe 2 sets of uniforms per year, because especially according to the station you're working in, you would have that experience. As a pencil pusher, you wouldn't know that. You telling
yeah,
me they sent will know anything about how much time someone has burned through a uniform or boots? You don't
yeah.
have a clue?
Which is information that you're supposed to have, and then and the budget for each fire station would vary because based on the size of it, based on its location and things like that. And every year you're supposed to say, okay, well, we need to replenish this or whatnot, and you
Yep.
ask for the person who is in charge at that station to give you a report of what expired and what needs to be replenished every single
Yeah.
year so that it could run and operate. Lemma, when I think about the fact that we're struggling with these things, it really makes me very concerned and very sad. The fact that we don't ever lean in to being the best that we could be or our potential. I was
Yeah.
looking at a YouTuber, tell her that already. This girl, and she's literally go and try out for different like arms in the US. So she
Yeah.
one day she will train to be a Marine, and she will train to be in the Navy, and she will train to be, first responder or whatnot. And do we even have ambulances attached to our fire stations? Because I
Yeah.
was looking at them, and the expertise that these people who you might just call, well, these are fire service, but they are also paramedics and EMTs, right?
Wait.
And they know exactly what to do in the case of a gunshot, in the case of a collapsed lung, in the case of choking, in the case of a heart attack. And I am like, they are so prepared. And she spent the whole night at the station where they had to actually respond to real emergencies.
Yeah.
And one of them, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. They got up, they responded, and then they were cancelled. And she asked, "Well, what happened?" She said, "Well, the guy told her, well, because of our location, right? What they will do is that they will dispatch two ambulances, and
Mm-hmm.
whoever gets there first,
The
the
other one.
other crew will be cancelled." And I was like, I mean, that we just call that in the Progressive Empowerment Party over engineering, right? Because you just want to make sure that there is no way that the job does not get done. But they're so trained, they're so prepared. I looked at their fire station, and everything was in its place and everything was working. And not only that, the camaraderie they have, the trust that they have in each other,
Yeah.
recognizing that they can't do their job without their partner, and they're cooking together. And I was like, this is what makes people working in a job great, because they have the support from their government in the sense that they are equipped. Ah, morning, John. They're equipped to do
Morning,
their
morning.
job, but they also, yeah, morning. They also have each other's backs and support and stuff like that, which would make it a better work environment. And I'm like, why it is that we continue to make our work environment sloppy and depressing,
Because of who we have in
without equipment, without the
charge.
right tools.
Listen,
Then you mistreat them and underpay them. You don't give them insurance for any illnesses that they are sure to develop
yeah.
later on in life, because they have to be running into smoke and stuff like that. And I'm like, why are we
Remember,
setting
I
ourselves
asked
up to
you.
fail?
Remember, I asked you that if we do that in Trinidad, where I could like call and say, right, I want to go on an emergency call with them and see what it would be like. I am not sure they have that. And then after I have been bashing decent, and I don't think they're mature enough to do that. We do have a few ambulances. However, the one in Arima was down. The one in Tobago is down. The one in Tobago down for alternator, which they ain't fix yet. And you swear alternator so expensive. And the another one was down for a battery. But every station does not have an ambulance. Some of the officers are not well trained either. And you know what I thought was so funny? Fire service have an entire chaplain department. And I was like, yes, all you put in more effort in praising God than effort in ensuring that you have the tools and all you know, okay, you're all right, you're obviously responding to a fire. It might have people trapped inside of there. So in the event you do happen to rescue somebody, what do you do then? So you tell me you can't revive the person, you can't get them oxygen, you can't see if they all right. If they get burns, what you do? You wrap them in the foil. You how to treat the wound. Yeah, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
And then police is also supposed to respond, because from the time there's a fire, police is supposed to respond, ambulance and fire. So police would cordon the area so people wouldn't get too close, people
Yeah.
wouldn't macro and
Yeah.
videotape. And
Yeah.
so fire service
And all of these
don't
supposed to
worry
just be
about it.
dispatched from a command center. And I was
Yeah.
wondering, what does our command center look like, right? Because the same girl, she would have done where she was a rescue 911 responder,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, so she actually doesn't even have to remember everything, right? So she has to remember codes though. So if a call come and the call is that somebody is going into labor, you
Yeah.
have to go through and dispatch an ambulance to the person, but then you also have to start giving them instructions. Okay, make sure they're lying down, get warm cloth, whatever. But there's a script. There's a script. So once you punch in that, okay, the emergency is somebody's in labor, whatever, there's a script. So they're asking you, is she full term? Is it premature? Does she
Mhm.
have a difficult pregnancy? Is she allergic to anything? So, and I'm like,
So, and
so
while
that
they're
is why
taking
it
that
works.
information,
That
while
is
they're
why it
taking that
works.
information, Hadassah, they are also passing that information on to the paramedics.
Along.
When they're
Yes.
packing stuff, they're going to know,
Yes.
right, she cannot take penicillin because she's allergic to it. So we have to give her
Yeah.
something else. She's
Yeah.
full term. So that means that baby coming now, we have less than a certain amount of time.
Yeah. But
She
she
has a
delivered the
difficult
baby, yeah?
pregnancy.
She actually delivered the baby because they
Really?
didn't get there in time. When the guy called and
Yeah.
she asked, like, if you could see the head, the baby was like already coming. So
Right.
she gave him the instructions, whatever, how to tie cut the umbilical cord and everything. And it was just amazing. I seen Lennox Edmonds Hines saying in the US, most EMT and um paramedic services are privately owned and run. Yes, in Trinidad as well. But the thing is, ours don't work. And there are systems in place to make sure those privately owned systems in the US work. And that is where we are failing because we don't keep anybody accountable.
No, because
We
who
don't we
owns
don't
our
fire
ambulance
anybody. We don't
contract?
take contracts away,
Our
right?
ambulance contract is owned by one of the 1% who has not been living up to his contractual agreement. So that is part
It's
of
the
our
same
problem.
thing. It is the same thing. I totally understand that in any country, developing or otherwise, that you actually government needs the support of private enterprises in order to run, right? But it cannot be people getting contracts willy-nilly and then they are not held to
Accountable.
the fine print of the contracts and they actually not deliver. They're not delivering what our taxpaying dollars are paying for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also did a video on Santa Cruz Fire Station because Santa Cruz also does not have a fire truck. Right? Santa Cruz is also the home of the search and rescue unit. This is the people they're supposed to parallel down in the bush to look for people and all these different things.
Hmm.
They they aren't ready. We're not ready for anything. We're not ready. And some of the trucks in headquarters aren't working properly either. They're just for show in front there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel that this is what we have to tackle, the disconnect between saying we have okay, well, we have 24 fire stations, but is that enough? And this is where we have to get people to wake up and recognize it is not
Not enough.
just enough. I feel like Trinidadians are way too acquainted with failure and mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even expect things to work. And you know how we know that? When somebody goes into a store and they get good service, they have to come and rant about it on social media because we're so accustomed to being badly treated. We're so
Yeah.
accustomed to people with their hog attitude treating us anyway. And that is from government offices go all the way down.
Yeah.
So that when we have a good experience, that is the exception. When it's supposed to be the norm, bad
Yeah.
experiences are supposed to be few and far between.
Yes, it is. But hey, and the thing is that fire service, whether they know they could out the fire or control it or help the situation or rescue, they will still show up.
Yeah.
Whereas the ambulance will call, you still need the ambulance? Oh, nobody in the chat? Oh, okay, all right. Well, we sending one for sure now.
Yeah.
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 One of the fire officers who I know who after I started lambasting the chief and then reached out and he was so grateful that I was doing it because he said they can't do it. They're not
Yeah.
allowed to do it. They'll get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
And I said, no problem, it's not an issue. And what he said, he told me that they they're willing to work, they love their job. They love their job. But it's just their management killing them
Yeah.
because don't see it fit. He said I would make
Yeah.
a good national security minister. I was like, I don't think men could handle a woman in a position like that to tell them you have this amount of time to get this done or else.
Well, I mean, we always strung up on the wrong thing, eh? But I mean, I was just thinking back to the same scenario of the girl just doing the test run in the U.S. fire station, and I
You know what
really
fire service
understood.
also supposed to do, Hadassah, that they're not doing? They're supposed to go around and check to see if all the hydrants working. They're supposed to go in government institutions and check to make sure their fire certificate up to standard. They have smoke detectors, they have sprinklers or extinguishers, and they have everything in case it have a fire that they could try and extinguish it themselves.
Yeah, I know. I mean, well, I know like in the US, like when you like build a property, there are a lot of different people that have to sign off on the
Yeah.
property to say that it's up to code, right? So even before, the engineer has to be like, okay, this, you have to have like support beams, and anybody who's watched HDTV and whatnot know.
Yeah.
But also, your HVAC has to be up to code, your plumbing has to be up to code. The fire services, so they have to sign off as well on
We
your
have
things like that. And I'm like,
we have
that
that
is
when you're
why
doing it through mortgage finance and thing. But if you want
only,
to just do your own, yeah, when you
yeah,
go to the banks and mortgage finance, you must have all those things up to date. But when you're doing your own thing,
yeah.
there's nobody to say, right,
and and
you
and
get
it
your
should
plan
be,
from, yeah, it should
and
be.
it's supposed to be before you move into the property, that some service is notified and they send somebody who would say, okay, your property is,
Yeah,
it's deemed safe for dwelling and things like that. It's not going to be a danger to you or any other families in the vicinity and stuff like that. And what it is we just take a lot of things, for granted. And my biggest problem with our present administration is that I feel like they never strive for better, right?
yeah,
And then they have the people now touting their nonsense, so that you will have people attacking you because you raising the issues about TTFS, and then you would have people defending the removal of the subsidy,
yeah,
like if it's the government own, like if it's the
yeah.
government paying it, right? There has not been calm, and we didn't say that we are looking at the situation. We don't want to have to raise it. We are looking at alternatives where we could subsidize and things like that. That is never be it. It's be a decision that is made and it's trusted upon the people. And these are the things
And
that
while
I
they're doing
hate.
that, they're still dipping in the HSF fund. So what you dipping in it for if you do that? Then you want to force people to work an extra 5 years instead of make it optional. Why they didn't cut some of their salary and perks
Yeah,
and apply
yeah.
it instead of thing? No. Why
Well, you
didn't
see,
increase the taxes on yachts and the 1% people thing? They didn't do that.
they're looking to raise their I think it's their pensions again,
Oh
right?
really?
Right. But I actually think we have just forgotten that these people work for us. That is like if I working for a company, right? I am the employee, right? I am the employee. And I go in and tell the boss that, look, um, I think I need my salary to double, right? I mean, that is something that could happen, but it's never supposed to be where I'm not supposed to be running the show. We are the employers. The government works for us.
That
And
is
they are
why.
dictating, the employees are dictating to the employers how things are going to be. So things have totally gone out of control. We are in a what,
Highlight
multiverse
zone.
multiverse of madness.
Yes. Yes, we are. We are. We really are. We really are. And if people cannot understand the severity of not having a fire service up to par, then expect more places to burn down and your loved ones to die inside.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz has to go as far as Maracas, Las Cuevas, Lafayette, Blanchishes. Look how far Santa Cruz is from there.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz does not have a truck. So San Juan has to respond. Look how much further San Juan is. And San
Yeah.
Juan has to get through that gridlock, stupid traffic on Saddle Road right there before they
And
head on.
Fitzgerald Hines said only 3 stations are under equipped And I asked myself,
He's
what good is
lying
it? What good is it to lie about that? Especially if you intend to fix it, right? You're newly appointed Minister of National Security. You came and you met 8 stations out of the 25 without out of the 24 without an appliance or unequipped or whatnot. Why lie about it? Why don't you say that I am here now? These are the
to
stations
get
that need to be dealt
something
with, and I'm going to deal with it. Why lie? I
because
don't understand.
that is something
Why
I
is
would
there default to lie, Lima?
if
Why?
I was Minister of National Security, I would have had a meeting with all heads of my different services. And I know, right? You said, Chief of Fire said, everything good, we good, we getting things ordered. Good. Okay, no problem. And then I will take it upon myself now to go and check and see.
Yeah,
But
but
how
you
the
just
station
asked each
go now?
station to submit a report.
Yeah. Right? You're driving. But I mean, Fitzgerald Hines must casually pass through. I mean, all right, he live in Hillsborough. So you're driving through on the saddle road there to come out by LSD Plaza. All there you're passing. So you're not thinking, right, if it have a fire, which station will respond? That's Woodbrook Fire Station have to respond all there. Woodbrook does not have a fire truck. So headquarters would have to respond because Belmont cannot respond because Belmont does not have a truck.
Yeah.
Mova doesn't have a truck. And that's our next thing. Because Mova don't have a truck, Sawa has to go all down there too.
Yeah, we know. We know. And I'm like, I am tired about talking about these things. I really just want to get to, all right, let's fix it. Let's fix it. I refuse to believe that PNM supporters don't see this, right?
You
And
know,
I'm
when they
like, why
vote,
it is when it comes to things like this, we are not just all citizens. Why isn't this a national concern? It doesn't matter who you vote for.
and the thing
Why
is
are
that,
we more concerned with upholding the government instead of making them accountable? Why it is that we are saying, well, if a fire break out, I could die in a fire, but it's okay. Great as a PNM. Why is that our stupid attitude
and when you watch how
and
police be
resignation?
targeting people in PNM strongholds, their supporters, police be bullying and taking down, and they still can't open their eyes. They love it. They love it. Mind you, Dego Martin Fire Station has a mandate they must always have a truck. Why? Because your big Sawatis living down there. Tasked with everybody else, and
Yeah, yeah.
that is why I said, okay, you know what? I just going to have that chief ass on fire every single time because
Very good.
he
Very
needs
good. Because they treat us like that, maybe it's time for us to treat them like that. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know what happened in the indoctrination stage in the beginning when they started to talk about Eric Williams being the father of the nation, and he does such great things, and he make education free, and he make health care free and whatnot, that we just relinquish our ability
that is only
to
brainwash PNM supporters
to
saying that
think.
because as the person said, I remember somebody told me that I'm not grateful I got free education. And I had to tell her, listen to me. You wanted independence, the queen would have told them these are things that you have to have in order for independence. So it wasn't a matter, oh, Eric Williams decided he had a heart and he was going to give us that. In order for independence, you had to have certain things. The same way, in order for us to get certain amount of money from IMF or whatever, we had to have a EMA. We had to have a OSHA. We had to have certain things instituted. They just did it for so. It's not like they care. It's not like Eric decided, you know what? I must really give my people something.
Yeah, yeah. And I think about that because we actually have more schools now that could be traced back to the Queen's time that are literally the same structures held together by tape and a prayer, right? And I was like, so nowhere in the almost 60 years was there a thought that, okay, now we have to think about what we want our education to look like, which would also include what the physical structures of schools look like, what the layouts look like, what we want the children to feel and experience in the space. We still
Yeah,
have children in choke up classrooms, right? With board on the floor with holes in it. And the classrooms are separated by blackboards, which means when Miss Blackman in this class talking, you can hear what Miss Smith in the other class talking. And
yeah.
everything is so dysfunctional. And like, at
That
no
is
point we are going to
majority
say,
of primary schools are like that. My
yeah,
daughter primary school is like that. Right now they have a leaking problem and the infant section was flooded out over the weekend. They had to beg parents to come
yeah,
and help clean up the mess. I was
yeah.
like, I say,
So
well,
at what point we go in and say, this is not optimal for our children's education, for formative years and for learning? At what point? And this is what I'm saying. We're not having intelligent discourse or conversations about what is needed and why we believe the government is failing. What we have is a bunch of people just fighting you in the comments, and as soon as you say something that they perceive is anti-government or whatnot, they say, well, you want shit. And I just tell people, do you care to enlighten me? Right? I say, can you articulate beyond that? And then I say, when they can't and they try to cuss me out, I'll be like, oh, sir, your P&M slip showing, your P&M education showing, right? Come on, the man.
they always get to that point when they can't answer you. They always get to that point when they can't answer you with a informed answer.
Informed, exactly, because it is this everything the P&M does is good. And I am like, I don't mind if you have certain feelings that you say, well, this is why I voted for this party, this is why I voted for UNT, whatnot. That is your right. That is your democratic right. But why have we removed the whole idea of, yes, I voted for you, but you are not meeting my expectations, or I don't like that, or I don't
About what
agree? Why
expectations?
we have to agree with everything?
What expectations, Harasa? These people okay with living with garbage on every corner, spill out like you open a bag of rice and the whole rice just spill out. They are accustomed with that. They enjoy that. They happy with that. Every corner in Belmont have a garbage dump, and all the councillors still have their jobs and their positions. Right? This next one come up with she with her foundation to give out free care packages. Why you didn't make your government take the tax and the duties off of pads and tampons and panty shields so that even a vagrant on the street could I get? In Germany, you have those machines that you could go and take out a pad and a tampon, a condom if you wanted, on the
Yeah,
street, on the pavement,
yeah, yeah,
and you had to
yeah,
come up with that thing. So your government, so you not thinking vision wise, forward movement, that can be something free. Imagine
yeah,
you a child, right? Your mother or father, your parents didn't prep you for periods, and you going to school and you have an accident, but you don't know what you're supposed to do.
yeah, yeah,
Stupidness, upholding foolishness. You're not supposed to be doing care packages for that. That's supposed to be free. No
I know.
woman asks for periods. No young lady want that.
Yeah, but I mean, Philip has talked about it. Why aren't we removing the taxes from even, baby products and formula and milk, Pampers, feminine products that they want to call luxury items, a
How is
tampon
that luxury?
and pads, luxury items, and they're very heavily
Somebody
taxed
need
and
to
whatnot.
shove a tampon up some of them.
But I mean, the government, people will say, well, that's how the government is make money. So what they also do is anybody who is in business and they depend on imports, bringing goods from foreign to sell here, or materials or whatnot, they have a hard time. Their goods get stuck up in customs. Then you have to bribe this person, and they leaving your goods to go off and to
And that's
go
to tell you
beyond the
how
expiration date
they
and
bankrupt
whatnot.
ideas, Hadassah, because it have so many different ways that they could make money. We have a huge car culture, which could be used to boost tourism. And if you had your car shows, you could make money from that. If we did agriculture to export, you could make money from that. The marijuana industry, cocoa, coffee, sugar, coconut. We could flick into
Yeah.
pumpkin. We could sell water. Look, they were looking. I saw a YouTube video where they were looking to see water sources on Mars because water shortage in certain parts of the world. And I was like, well, we wasting water. We could export.
Yes.
That is our money making venture right there that we could have. No, but no, it's PNM. They bankrupt of ideas.
I saw a farmer in Guyana has actually figured out how to grow grapes in
Yeah, I saw
that
that.
climate, and Vice President Jagdeo immediately approved him for land to expand on the venture,
Yeah,
and things like that. But I was getting back to my point where I was talking about customs and stuff like that. I just like people always talk about how small and medium businesses are usually like the cornerstones of economies, right? They're very, very important because they they it's like a buff to the middle class. They provide jobs and different things like that. And I'm like, in any other country, the government is going to look at all the challenges that business people face and try to remove them and to facilitate easy trade. People always talk about ease of business in Trinidad being very hard. There's
yeah,
nothing easy about ease of business in Trinidad. And I'm like, the government never comes down to talk to the people, to have conversations about, okay, the business sector, we want to have a conference and we want to talk about all the things that makes it difficult for you
you have
to
that style
exist.
of management everywhere because the fire service, though chief, though come down from his high horse to talk to his men to see
It
well
is
what
true.
they need. Same for police, same for air guard, same for coast guard, same for everybody. Where I
Yeah.
work is the same thing.
Yeah.
So that is the top-down approach that they have,
You
and I
know?
have a problem with that approach.
And that's what we have. What we have is we actually voting for people who their jobs really is supposed to amplify our voices, right? And to work the machinery, the political machinery, um, to get things moving and to get things done. As I was on that, this past 2 weeks seeing the UNC protesting
Mhm.
has made me sick to my stomach because I was like, but you make up the government. Is the government protesting the government? You understand what I'm saying? And I was like, the thing about it is, if it is, they were saying that protest was like the last straw, the last resort. They did everything else, right? But up to now, I have not heard any ongoing or series of debates in the House of Representatives concerning the the price hike in fuel. So you have not done all that you can, right? MPs in fishing villains did not get up and say this is how this price hike is going to affect fishermen in my constituency, and it is untenable and they cannot bear it, and we demand that the government at least meet with them or what. They did not do that. You have
You
not
expect
used all the
UNC,
mechanisms in place, so why are you protesting?
you
It was
you
sickening to see.
you expect UNC. They also bankrupt of ideas too. Because when the Cali Bay fishermen had problems and the Coast Guard, none of the MPs showed up either. UNC MPs in a mess. Look at, remember the landslide in Princestown that Barry Ball is with Rohan for, because Rohan didn't fix it. That's why the fire service had to take a next route to get to the fire and take 45 minutes. Again, because Barry don't want to do his work. They're not doing what they are supposed to do. The opposition useless. They're useless. They're just collecting a salary and the perks. And yeah, we will just make a noise for a few minutes or whatever. Khadija, I mean, parade her ass all over in that, but yet still the fire in Bamboo, she responsible for there. No hydrants in the area, no water, no upgrades, no development. But you are the MP. That is your
Yeah,
damn fault.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I understand when you run in an election, you're not guaranteed to win. There is a 50-50 chance that you could end up the opposition. What are you trying to tell me? So because you lost for the next 5 years, you are ineffective and that the people who voted for you cannot expect any representation? That is reprehensible.
But the thing is that
What is the point of you?
they have been in opposition before they got to office. So you telling me when you got to office, you didn't know what legislation you needed to put in to make sure that the people had a bigger voice. Your farmers had a bigger voice. People had an avenue to get to their government without
Yeah,
the help of the opposition. You
yeah,
didn't know that? You didn't know all of that? All them lawyers in UNC and you telling me they didn't know they could do that?
yeah, yeah. And I like that we having this conversation because we need to get to a place where the mantra is no excuses. I think people feel that saying, well, Kamala can't do anything, she's the opposition, that is a safe space where people hide and where
Yeah.
they accept no representation and they accept failure, right? No excuses. Once you make up the government, you are supposed to be using all the tools available to you to effect change. And if you're not doing that, then for goodness sake, just give up the work.
So please, she just turned 70. She have more yesterdays than tomorrow. And she still wouldn't get a clue. All right, I think it's time I hang up my hat there because she need help to walk. She need help to do everything.
The thing is that a lot of people are still very loyal to her. I personally don't have any problem with that. I just think that people don't think objectively and rationally about what is best
If I
for
have
the
to
entire
retire
country.
at 60, Hadassah, well then bet your bottom dollar we're not supposed to have any ancient politicians.
Well, they will say she's now only just 5 years over. I mean, come in but looking to extend it to 65. So it's technically it's just 5 years over retirement
No,
age.
no, 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 no. It's 10 years. No, it's 10 years. 10 years.
um, yeah. I honestly don't care. I love when Americans talk about the fact, well, they're Republican, but they voted for Obama, or vice versa, right? Because I kind of feel like at least there was some thought that went in there that made them think, well, maybe this person is the right person for the job, or maybe this person would have a more positive impact on on my life directly. We don't ever vote thinking about how is that going to translate to improving my everyday life, to better roads, to less power outages, to water 24/7, to the price of food. I've seen so many people just throw their hands up and say, what I expect the government to do. This happening everywhere.
Yeah, stupid people who just say that shit. Yeah, and the others who just ball, I leaving it up to God. So okay, well when the fire come in, leave it up to God too. When the man come in to rob you, rape your daughters, tell them you're leaving it up. It was God will. What you want me to tell you? All right. Because
What?
police service get brand new vehicles and they went by the priest to get it blessed. Like what? Why they didn't go by fire service chaplain then?
Yeah. And all that is whistle beating. And that is calls to their bases, right? A lot of PNM supporters identify as Christian.
Right, but police don't have the Christian in them when they gunning down your son. And
Yeah. I just I have really come to realize that there should be separation between church
yes, it's
and
supposed
state.
to.
I remember years ago, it was like, I think it was a Sunday, and then the Monday would have been elections, and I was sitting down in a church, and the pastor was clearly supporting the
Yeah,
PNM.
yeah, plenty of
And me
them.
and my family at the time was too, right? But he, at the end of the sermon, he kind of threw in a little thing to talk about. I think he gave the definition for the color yellow or something. So, and then he talk about, no, we have to go with red, which is the color of the blood, right? And I remember even me then getting ready the next day to go and vote for PNM, thought that that was inappropriate. Inappropriate because as a pastor, as a minister, as a priest, you have a certain amount of sway, and you
Yeah.
should not be using that to suggest to people how they should vote, because voting is supposed to be personal. And I remember sitting and thinking, okay, this is cringy. I didn't like that at all.
But he only getting his congregation, his flock to go and vote for PM so he could get more money. That's why he driving BMW and everybody else had to travel.
Well, I don't know about that, but I remember thinking, no. And I think it's because people have this misguided notion that the PNM is a Christian party,
They
and
don't have to do with anything though.
and and yeah, but even if they were, I'm like, there are so many things that shows that they are not, right. The Bible talk about humility and goodness and kindness and being your brother's keeper and whatnot. There's nothing about them that says that. So I don't understand where people get this idea from. But even
So
so,
what Hindu
when
is
you do
devil then,
that, yeah,
and
but when you
Muslim
do that,
is devil too.
but when you do that, you isolate other groups. You isolate Muslims, you isolate
Jehovah,
Hindus, yeah, you isolate other
Presbyterian,
people who, or
everybody
even
else.
even people who say they're agnostic or they're atheist, right? And if you are vying now for a position that says, I am going to be a government to all people, right? If you decide to say, well, we are a Christian party or we are a Hindu party, then I, as a voter, I'm going to be like, can I trust you then to fight for my rights as somebody who does not believe like you or maybe does not look like you? It is important for us to separate those things.
Yes. I stopped going to a certain church because for election campaign, two people who I know to be up on the pallbearer was PNM and they didn't even want to hear nobody's side. I was like, oh really, that's the case? Nah, I can't go there. So full of foolishness. You cannot be up in the church and telling me about humility and God said to forgive and this and that and the other, and then you with your hypocrite ass walking for PNM.
Yeah. It don't make sense. And they take it very seriously. I mean, like, especially like the Pentecostals and stuff like that. They, before elections, they would have like running weeks of prayer and fast for the PNM so that they would win again and stuff like that. So these ideas are really, really entrenched, right?
Yeah.
And I have really come to the point where I actually don't care how you identify in terms of religion or anything like that. My only concern is, can you do the job? Let me see your qualifications and would you get it done? And we have gotten so tied up with all kind of things that really don't matter at the end of the day, and that is why we are here. So that Kid Rowley could go on the Shouter Baptist podium and sing and dance like a fool, right?
Yeah.
And he will make a certain amount of people feel good, right? But you actually have not done anything to uplift that community.
And
They
you
they
see
they,
this
they
every
got
day.
their holiday and their school from Panday. So you actually had told them that their form of worship was illegal or criminal or something like that. So now it's in your benefit. So you're going to whistle now.
Yes,
You're going
because they
to
look
cast
like
your net.
him. Because they look like him. Yes. That's the stupidness
It
of
is so
PNM.
much disrespect. It is so much disrespect. That's why I'm glad the mother say, I will never vote for PNM. With all of that, I still voted for UNC. I was like, very good, very good. At least she have some type of conviction,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Continuing to uphold people who don't uphold us, who
I
don't protect
asked,
us.
I asked the other day, in all that you learn in the Bible about God smiting and smiting, how it is our politicians didn't get 1 ounce of lightning strikes yet because of the amount of foolishness them doing. And then the first thing they like to ball is God and sing Bible song and quote Bible.
Limbs, I don't know. I just had to like shake my head. My mom told me the day before the fuel hike, oh, we're going and fill up the car, the tank today, because today's the last day to enjoy the lower price. I was like, well, what gonna tell you? The resignation, the resignation, and if I start to say, but mommy, why are we listening to the government's foolishness? She will say, well, I don't want you to start today. You always go off on a tangent. I want to hear it today. And
Yeah.
always so angry.
Yeah.
Always so angry. Always so angry. And seeing the feelings, Seeing the feelings. Took my niece to the hospital, had a bad experience waiting to get help and attended to, seeing the bad roads, seeing the homeless people on Independence Square, seeing the crime, seeing everything. And all she's saying is, Lord have mercy. I just get so mad. I just get so mad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. And listen, when I started, so when I saw fire service chaplain department or chaplain sector praying, I was like, this is a meme too good to be true to pass up. Because all
Hmm.
you're praying over your retirees, but some of your retirees ain't get their back pay yet. Some of your
Yeah,
retirees ain't get what is due to them because your chief sitting down on his ass. And because if
yeah,
he's rubbing shoulders with Fitzgerald Hines, they somehow safe.
yeah. Uh, there's a lot of I think brainwashing is the word that would have taken place, that would have come from our politicians, and a lot of
That's
it,
how it is. I wasn't brainwashed though.
I don't know, and a lot of it is propped up and supported by religious leaders, pundits, and whatnot and whatnot. But it has actually made us believe that, the Bible, how the Christians they say you have to give Caesar what is Caesar's, and you have to respect your governments, right? So I feel that a lot of people have just become very timid and very passive, believing that all of the abuse that they suffer and whatnot is God's will. And I think that is a very misguided notion.
That
It's
is that.
misguided because there are countries that would identify as atheist countries. They don't have like a religion, because you know, like every countries will say, well, where's the main religion? It'll be either
Yeah,
Catholicism or whatnot. There are some countries that don't have it, like a lot of the European countries and whatnot. And when you meet the people, they'll tell you, oh well, I'm atheist or whatnot. But their countries work,
yeah.
right? Which means that they actually have put their faith in themselves and they have held their people accountable. They believe
Because
that
they
we can
understand
be
that
better
religion and state supposed to be separate.
and we could do better, and they hold their governments accountable and responsible. And
Yeah.
we just get lost in tribal voting and religion and who skin like me and who hair like me, and we get nothing done and we get nowhere. We need to be more intelligent and
Hmm.
mature in our politics. It's time for us to grow up. It's time for us to grow up.
People need to stop taking that blue pill from the Matrix. The Matrix Resurrection, the new one. That's perfect example of today, you know. You see how they had Neo hooked up on the blue pill till he didn't know his true self and the truth? That is what society is now. Everybody hooked up on this blue pill. And they don't know the truth. And the ones that are trying to wake them up just look like the crazy ones.
Yeah.
That is where we are.
But Limbs, I don't even mind if you're misinformed, right? I don't even mind that. I would rather have a discussion or debate with somebody who has at least taken the time to 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 justify their position in an intelligent way with facts and with data and whatnot. And that is not what we have coming here. We just have people saying, well, they just want to tear down the government, or they're just negative. And I was like, and I tell all of them, lady, could you please expand on that idea? Because I really want to understand. And I was wondering if we should like do like a whole series on like the mind of the PNM voter and bring some of these people on the show, because honestly, I am very, very, very intrigued. And I
And
actually just think is Lima is just one thing
I
that
don't want to
disconnected, you
start
know.
using cocaine to forget these people and the idiotic mentality.
Limbs, we can't give up on them. And as always say, I stood up and said it in the very first PEP meeting that I attended. And I stood up and I said, the reason why I can't give up on them is because I was once one. I used to stand up and have conversations with my best friend about the reason why Laventil and Sealot and whatnot is because they don't take advantage of the opportunities that the government give them, and the government give them free education, and then they only want fast money. I used to have those conversations, and looking back now, I'm so appalled. I'm so disappointed in myself. Like if I was grading a paper, I will give myself an F. Like total failure. Right? And now I have evolved into a more objective, and I would even say compassionate individual. I have understood that sometimes people are just victims of their circumstances.
People,
It's
I
not easy.
remember a woman telling me, "Oh, education is free in Trinidad." I was like, "Yes, education is free, but the quality of education isn't across the board." It's like, "What you mean? It's across the board?" I was like, "Why it is people just rush for Sacred Heart, Rosary, Newton, and all of that then, and they don't rush for Gloucester Lodge, St. Philip's, Eastern Girls and Boys, and those schools? Why? Tell
Yeah.
me."
Yeah. And I've
Education
always
for the good.
And I laugh at the notion of the fact that education is free. Education is not free. We pay for it over time in the form of our taxes. It
Yes.
is it is funded by the people, and the government is their responsibility is to manage the funds appropriately.
So after I said all that, she couldn't answer. And I was like, "See, and you supposed to be a teacher. Were you teaching them children?"
People defending the government on reopening schools, right? But there's a lot of evidence, pictures, complaints. people going on social media talking about the fact that schools have been out of commission for so long, but yet the schools were not ready to receive the children. They did not have furniture. The schools were dirty, and things like that. And Philip made the point. He said, but Colin Imbert, in the last budget that he read, assigned the biggest budget of education that has ever received, almost $7 billion. So why were the schools not ready?
And where
And why
Dolly?
it is people don't ask these questions? It is
Where
not so.
Dolly?
It's not like we don't have the money,
Where is Dolly? She
right?
missing in action, just like how all them children fighting all over the
Yeah.
place.
And I am like, if you are a PNM supporter and you went and dip your finger and you vote for Mr. Rowley, but you saw the situation and said that was not right. Where is the money that was allocated in the budget for education? And if you take that position, I will say, I respect you, because now I realize you are not a person who could be bought and swayed just because of party loyalty. And that is what is missing. We don't have people who just want to say wrong is wrong and right is right.
Yeah. We don't have people who give each other the jacket. You have these fake trolls that bashing UNC, they bashing PNM, and they bashing Philip. And I was like, you have no purpose. You have none. Come election time, you have to make a choice whether you like the person or not. PNM is doing a piss poor job. You know you don't want that. UNC isn't doing anything to say, well, right, they are option.
Yeah,
Obviously, that is the only one that's saying, okay, all right, now
yeah,
PDP on the list there. So you have a choice between PDP and PEP.
yeah. I remember when I was working at American, um, the company had filed for Chapter 11. They filed for bankruptcy, right? And it was a very scary time. And in order for us to pull ourselves out of that, we had to do a merger with US Airways. And the US Airways CEO now became CEO of the entire company. And we didn't like him because he was a different type of person, right? But US Airways was profitable. They were expanding their fleets and whatnot. So we realized that he was actually the man for the job. 2 years in, I had to admit, I didn't like Doug. His name was Doug something. I didn't like Doug, but he really was the man for the job. And that is what has to happen. You just have to look at, we are sinking. So that's us now. We in chapter 11, our country bankrupt, and you're still voting for the people who put us there. That don't make any sense. It is not about personality, it's not about liking anybody. It is who is qualified for the job, hands down.
PNM supporters don't think like that, because I remember I got in an argument with a woman. Which I think it was a woman. And they were talking about how we didn't have money for something. And I said, yeah, we'd have money if they would stop the Faris Al Rawi rental agreements on buildings we don't need.
You have
Man,
a building to rent?
yeah. And she goes, well, you have a building to rent. I was like, you've missed the point entirely. It's not about that. It's about prioritizing the money where it is. Blocked. You are blocked. That's what she said. You are blocked. So I was like, okay, you clearly don't have an ounce of common sense or a brain to use
Yeah,
for things.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want no building or mine rented. I just want a functional country. And that's why
yeah,
UNC supporters just hit PNM for six and tell them, well, all your emphasis is not education.
yeah,
So, well, they don't care about education.
yeah. I mean, I am always like really intrigued by like the psychology and the mentality behind it. Like my minor at UWI was psychology. And I think it would be like awesome to talk to psychologists to like really deconstruct the mind of voting in
Thinking
Trinidad, because I don't understand how you is literally Stockholm syndrome, how you could be voting for somebody who is hurting you.
because
How?
they love it. You don't love me if you don't beat me. You don't love me if you don't beat me.
Anyways, before we ride out, I just wanted to touch on the issue with what is happening with National Insurance Board and our elderly. And I mean, I just kind of feel like, to me, any society wants to protect their children, they want to protect animals, and they want to protect the elderly. And I feel like any government that could propose what Calm Imbert is proposing is just downright evil, right?
I don't mind, Hadassah, if you
Just
made it
cruel.
voluntary, because it really have some people who could go that extra 5 years because
Yeah,
they have the brain power, they have the
yes.
resources, the information, and they're
Yeah.
strong enough.
And
I can
probably they still
understand that.
have to contribute. But Lemma, the issue is these are people who it's a contract where they would have understood that I would have made these amount of contributions and I can retire, right? How could you now at this stage, because you have misspent, mismanaged, squandered, give
Teeth.
friends and families kickback, yeah, and thief out the money, how now do we let elderly people who are in the sunset of their life come now to bear that burden of you not having a clue? That is the issue I have. The fact that it is cruel. Why
And
do we
you
treat
them
people like that and then
are
have
you
no
hearing
consultation?
are you hearing the 60 to 6 the 60 plus age group who's vote for PNM say they have a problem with that? No, they want to work until they're dead, just like how Rowley wanted dead as prime minister and Kamala dead as opposition leader. Woohoo. It should
Yeah.
be
So
voluntary. Give the people the choice if they want to or not. Just like you should give people voluntary separation packages. Who want to take it and go. Who don't want it, well, work until 60. You want
yeah,
to work
but
until 60,
Limbs,
well, fine.
the
So
the
when
the,
in
the
nightclub and
issue,
I didn't look to sell it yet to get back some of
yeah,
that money.
exactly. Well, they say they're selling assets, but the issues I dealing with, and we had to think about who is going to benefit from those sold assets. But the issue I am dealing with is the fact that we cannot trust our government to keep their words. There are people in TSTT who took VSEP in 2018 who still have not gotten their money. There are people who go about to be laid off, right? And they want to offer them visa. And you cannot fulfill your commitment to the 2018 people. How you're going to do it to the 2022 people? And that's the point. The government has a pattern and a history of not keeping their word.
Yeah, but those people from since 2018, they sit down and they asked and they didn't get a lawyer to fight. They loving it. I have to assume so because I know 1 year past I ain't getting money and it's a set of excuses. Hello, Anand Ram Logan was my best friend.
Yeah, but visa not supposed to look so. I was not moving from my desk until the money hit my account. It's simple as that. I am leaving, right, with the understanding that I am now going to be compensated for all the years that I could have still served the company. If it's 20 years or 30
And
years or whatnot, that's what
2018
I'm expected to get. You expect me to go home and sit down and scratch and wait for that? No.
and 4 years have passed, so that money should double. So ideally, the attorney should be asking for more money. Should be asking for more money.
It
But again,
is ridiculous.
that's not me. I wouldn't sit down and take something like that.
Trinidad and Tobago, we have to get serious. We have to get serious. I mean, this can't we can't continue to live like this. I'm looking at I think it's Manzanilla Beach. Somebody set up a nice like tiki hut on the beach, starting to look like what they do like in Mexico and stuff like that. Really
Mhm.
nice. And I think that the government should actually look at developing more and how they could support and put infrastructure to invite more businesses to the beaches to, really enhance the experience and stuff like that. But what I find is that that's all we have. We have a lot of restaurants and different type of businesses opening. And for me, all that I'm seeing is that it just looks like if you have a old dilapidated house and you just put paint on it when you didn't go behind the walls and it have mold and it have rust, and you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like a lot of people look at that and say, well, we're progressing, we're going in the right direction, and not actually dealing with any of the issues, because these same new businesses still going to be subject to bandits and high crime and what are all the other things that ail us and plague us.
Yes.
And I just kind of feel like why it is Trinidadians is this, why is building new buildings and stuff synonymous with progress? Where they get that idea from?
Manning. Remember his 2020 vision and build buildings and blah blah blah. And I was saying back then, building buildings and all of that is not progress when you have an illiterate population. It's like you are building things and your population is not mentally, psychologically, or academically there yet. He was supposed to make sure social development was up to par, education was up to standard, international standard. Before you start a bill, I set $1 billion thing. We have Napa, Tapa, and Sapper. What are doing?
Not
Right?
nothing right now, totally underutilized. Like, I mean, I have so
Not
many
taking
ideas
money.
for
Exactly. That
how
could have been a
exactly.
carnival museum. One could have been a carnival museum. A next one
Yeah.
could have been an industry museum where you find all our old Calypsonians and the information and the history and the records. You could play the music. You could have heard all kind of different things. No, not for that. Napa, Tapa, and Sapa is just to look shiny around the savannah and
And that
south.
is it. And that's it. And people dress up and they go there and they feel, oh, my country is whatnot. People are really blinded. And I was reminded again, there are a lot of people who vote PNM who their experience really is not like the
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 underground people,
the layman. No,
all the
they
contracts they getting is not regular people getting that. It's a boot
yeah.
sadka,
But
and
there are a lot of people who like live a good life and stuff like that, and somehow believe it is based on their own merit, that they worked hard and they send their children to good schools and they have good jobs and whatnot, and that the government is totally separate and apart from that, so that they have no reason to be displeased with Keith Rowley, no matter how he runs the country. So when people were experiencing nightmares, when they had to go to public hospitals with COVID and stuff like that, they were shielded from that because they would have gone to their private institutions. And it
that is
works like
called
that for
selfish people.
everything.
That is called selfish people. People who
I don't think it's selfish. I just think it's like totally unaware. And in a lot of ways, the PNM government does work for people who already have money.
that's selfishness because your highfalutin hoity-toity ass could go in a private hospital doesn't means what exactly that people who supposed to go public hospital supposed to catch their ass and die waiting for a flicking doctor.
No, I don't think so. I think they just think, well, the public hospitals are not good, so I go private and I have the money to afford it.
Right,
And if you two work hard,
can't afford. I work hard, but I can't afford to go
yeah.
restaurant. Shirt. Restaurant is charging for gloves, every piece of cotton, everything. What it is I'm spending money to go and do
But
that?
that is usually it. When uh is Georgia Bood and Peter Abood and whatnot, when Peter George and when they get on social media and they go off on their tangents, very, very, very racist tangents about how black people lazy and they don't want to work and whatnot and whatnot and whatnot. And I'm like, and they keep going back to the fact of how they work very hard and stuff like that. I mean, I was like, but yeah, I know it have a lot of people who have decided that they're gonna choose crime or whatnot. But black people are hardworking people. The people who get up 4 o'clock in the morning to set out all those clothes to sell on Charlotte Street and whatnot, not because their circumstances are different from you, mean that they work less. In fact, they probably work more.
Hadassah, how the F he get there without black people? He think he could sell trotters by his damn self? Go and sell and serve flicking
Yeah,
food? Black people
you
didn't tell
know.
you where to shop he
So
money?
this is and so this is what we're seeing, and the fact that he was able to benefit from associations, and the fact that these communities actually hold each other very closely. Yeah, they help each other and whatnot, which is another conversation that we need to have in terms of black people need to help each other.
I
But
do know Peter, Georgia.
but yeah, you cannot decide because your hard work has resulted in you driving an Audi and whatnot means that other people don't work hard. Everybody
Hadassah,
works hard because Trinidad is a hard country.
Hadassah, if I was selling cocaine and I would have been working hard selling madame cocaine, all right. I work hard. It wasn't legal, but I worked hard. So all of them could kiss my ass with that foolish talk. Because again, Coast Guard not securing our borders. Why? Because the cocaine had a pass. Who it is making money from the cocaine? It ain't all them little black boys, and it ain't all of them in Laventille. It is the ones up in Westmoreland, Glencoe, West and Maraval, and all the highfalutin areas.
Yeah, yeah.
So Peter George and all of them who feel they're working hard could just miss us with their bullshit.
Yeah. And I think people forget that at the end of the day, like I always tell people, this is what I learned most from my travels. At the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing. Nobody, nobody, when they were 5 years old and you ask them what they wanted to be, nobody would say that they want to live in a shack and they want to be poor, right? You
I
understand what I'm
think
saying? Everybody wants to have the ability to own a home, right? To be able to enjoy their property, to be able to have a vehicle, to enjoy their life, to give their children things that they probably didn't have when they were growing up, to make sure that they have a good education and that their children are safe and that they're not exposed to unnecessary violence and that if they get sick, they could get good health care. Everybody want the same thing. So why it is we have to separate? It's like them against us and whatnot. We all under the same government. Shouldn't we all have the same goal to
no,
want better for everybody?
no, because the people who want it all for themselves are the ones who own West Shore and Sinclair. And the reason why public hospitals could never function is because the jackasses who prefer to go and spend the money there wouldn't put their foot down and say, no, public hospitals should be up to standard too. The
Yeah, and
same
that is what has
jackasses
happened.
who prefer to have segregation in education so they could send their children Maria Regina 5,000 a
Yep,
term kind of bullshit
yep,
school fees and Bishop's Prep and Trinity Junior and all of this shit so that they could have segregation. So they're rubbing shoulders with the minister and they know, right, my child last name is this, so he automatically go St. Joseph Convent or CIC if he done so not.
yeah. And when I say racist, I really mean it, because my mom reminded me of when I was 3 years old. And, again, I'm not talking about parents just wanting the best for their kids. And she decided that she was going to put me in this private school in Cascade, right? And she said she went and she looked around and she's like, well, none of the kids look like me, right? And she asked the teacher, would my daughter be okay here? I want her to be okay. I want her to be safe. And the teacher, who she would describe as, like French Creole or whatnot, said, well, no, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. And when she came back for me that evening, she said I was in a mess. I was crying, crying, crying. And I was telling her, Mommy, please, you have to scrub my skin. My skin is bad. My skin is bad, right? Those children tortured me for the entire day, right? Which means if it's 3 and 4 and 5 year olds, where they get that from? So
Exactly.
when they at home and they are in their little communities and whatnot, they say the worst of things for us. If
Yeah.
we are all on this island together, we could only make it together. Your luck was a little different, and you might benefit from some privilege or for some legacy or whatnot. But you should want what you want for your little white child or your little mixed child or whatnot. You should want it for the little black children in Laventille too. You should
Why?
want that they have access to the best education and the
No.
best jobs
You know how they
and
want
the
to
best
bounce them up?
opportunities.
No, you know how they want to bounce them up? When they'll only have respect, well, not even respect, they'll only tolerate them because they had to work for them as maid and servant and security guard. But you know how they want to bounce them up? When they climb over the wall and they come in with a gun and take him everything you have, you bitch. That's how they want to meet us. Ask West Lawrence when the two of them come in and bounce up home girl. That's how
Yeah.
they want it. They instead of
So
you say, right, what I have, every poor community should have it as well, so that I don't have to experience that. No, let's sit down on our ass and be like, let's segregate and push it
yeah.
further and further and see how much they could
So
take before they run in there with grenade and shit.
yeah. So we have to work together to get out of this barrel. Limbs, my phone is literally on like what 2%, 1%. It going and died just now. So we
Sure.
have to like wrap up. But this was a really, really, really good conversation this morning, and we were like here for like 2 hours.
Yeah,
And
almost.
we just thank our audience and our regulars for still bearing with us and still joining us this morning. And we will keep you guys updated in terms of how we're going to do this going forward,
Yes.
you know. But yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
1%.
And we really have to work together, Trinidad and Tobago, but it's getting those people to see that is our problem. But join us again. We will let you know when. Right? So until then, be safe.
Bye, guys.
Bye.